Look at it. Okay, can you hear me, Freddie?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. So I invite everyone to pay respect to Ajahn.
Oh, is this? Yeah. Have you got the right volume, Freddie?
Yes. Yes, yeah. I think whenever you are not speaking, there are some noise, but when you speak, it's fine. So yeah, just keep talking.
Okay, keep talking. Okay.
Yeah, but I have some. Yeah, I have some reminders to everyone. So I just want to remind everyone that the question form has already closed. So if you haven't asked your question, you have already missed your chance. And due to large number of questions, Ajahn may not be able to answer all of them. Sorry for that. And again, please do not post your question in the chat box because it will be pushed away very soon. And that's all from me. Here to you again, Ajahn.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So welcome back, everyone. So I thought that for this afternoon session, I thought of having a look at the Metta Sutta. The Metta Sutta is in the Pali. It's one of the most famous suttas that the Buddha spoke. Usually, by I think a lot of people in the Theravada countries, they have two suttas that are the most popular. And one is the Satipatthana Sutta, and the other one is the Karaniya Metta Sutta, which is the one we're going to have a look at this afternoon. And this is a very popular sutta, and it's actually not really known outside of the Theravada tradition. If you go to the Chinese agamas, or if you go to Sanskrit version of the suttas, you don't actually find the Karaniya Metta Sutta. Is only found in the Pali. It's kind of unique to the Pali tradition, but it's a very beautiful sutta, and it's for that reason I thought it was interesting to consider the idea of metta from that point of view.
Oh, sorry, Ajahn.
Yes,
I think
Freddie?
a lot of people complain there's a lot of noise. See if you can do something at your end. I'm not quite sure if it is me or you.
A lot of noise.
Yeah, background noise.
I don't think there's any noise here.
Still hear it now? Yeah, I'm not sure if I can do anything. I think it's still there.
Katsapa? You're saying there's a noise, anything that be from outside at all? Is that possible?
Oh, not from outside the door, but it's more like a feedback noise from, it's like audio signal noise.
Feedback.
Okay, it's much better now.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah,
much
it's
better
much
now.
better.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Ajahn.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So all we had to do was to pull out the cable, and when you pull out the cable, then everything's okay. One of those mysteries of the but you had to be tech first. So charging cable. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Venerable Kassapa. Yeah. These are my fellow monks. They're helping out. So it's really nice. We're all kind of working, trying to. So everything is brand new. You can put that one louder. Do you want louder, Freddie? Is it loud enough?
Maybe slightly louder, but it's fine actually.
Slightly louder, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Put on more. How is that? Is that better?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
It's supposed to be louder now. Does that help?
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
Okay, good enough. Okay, good.
Thanks, Ajahn.
Yeah. Information, some of the system that we are using now, this was actually donated by people in Hong Kong. So some of the equipment here. So you're now already the beneficiaries of the system that was donated by Hong Kong people. It's nice, isn't it? We're working together really nicely in this way. But I was talking about the Metta Sutta, and it is one of those very Karaniya Metta Sutta, one of the very beautiful suttas about the Buddha, where he talks about development of loving kindness, or love if you like. And what is interesting about this sutta is that it talks about a very large number of topics. It is not focused very narrowly on the idea of loving kindness, but it's about a large number of topics. And the reason why this is interesting is because you cannot really develop love or compassion or care for other people on its own, fit into a larger framework of how we live our lives. Yeah, and so, for example, one of the things that you see in the suttas, and one of the things that you are always reminded of by good teachers of the Dhamma, is that the idea of metta, of loving kindness, it doesn't start in the meditation practice, for example. It starts often in our actions, in our speech, how we deal with other people. I was talking about this morning, and then it moves from the way we act and speak to the way we think about the world, how we think about people. Very important to be able to think in the right way. And then once we get all of these factors into place, then we can maybe do the meditation on loving kindness. So it has to be we have to do things in the right sequence. If we get the sequence wrong, it is not going to work out. You remember, if you look at the Noble Eightfold Path, the Noble Eightfold Path is very clear. Yeah, you start, the beginning is about right view, and then you come then you have right intention, and then you have right speech. Yeah, right speech comes very early on after right view. Then you have right action. Then you have right livelihood. Then you have right effort. After right effort, you have right meditation. Yeah, so we have to get this in the right sequence. So how we treat each other, how we act, how we speak comes first. Then comes the right effort, which has to do with how we think about things. Then comes the meditation. Then comes the satipatthana. Then the jhana state of that. So it's very important to kind of make the path holistic, to bring all of these factors together, and then it starts to work in the right way. And this is one of the things that the Karaniya Metta Sutta reminds us about, is this idea of all of these qualities that have to work together to make this actually work for us. Now, this morning, I was talking a little bit about some very interesting, for me anyway, very interesting things that happened during the Second World War, about how people suddenly found a degree of happiness in the middle of catastrophe. It's kind of astonishing. Yeah, we don't expect this. But then when we think about it, it actually makes sense that it can be this way sometimes. Maybe not always, but sometimes it can be this way. But there was a story from the Second World War, which I heard many years ago, which I thought was also very interesting. And this was a story from Germany. This was before the Second World War. And before the Second World War, we know that the Jews in Germany were really harassed by the Nazis, and the Nazi police would travel around and they arrest the Jews, and they would kind of send them off to concentration camps, and all of these terrible things that they did at that time because of some misguided ideology or whatever. And at that time, there were already some very strong Buddhists in Germany. Germany was one of the first countries in Europe that had quite a strong Buddhist following fairly early on. And one of these very famous early Buddhists in Germany, he happened to have a Jew hiding in his house, yeah, because he was a Buddhist, so he was kind of kind to everyone. He didn't have this kind of idea that Jews were bad or whatever. So he was hiding a Jew in his house, yeah. And of course, hiding a Jew in your house was dangerous, because if the police found out, they would give you a hard time for hiding Jews in your house. So you had this Jew there, and then one day they knocked on the door. So he goes to the door and he opens up, and lo and behold, the police, the Gestapo, is right there on the door. And so the police ask him, "Have you got any Jews in your house?" So what do you do? What would you do if you were standing at the door and you had some refugee or some person who wasn't, who was considered bad by society, but actually was a good person hiding in your house? You open up, the police is right there, and they say, "Have you got this person in your house?" What would you do? But many people, they would say, no, I haven't got anyone in my house. Yeah, and that would kind of be denied straight away. But this person, he was a very strong Buddhist. He didn't want to lie. He didn't want to lie to the police. Yeah, so straight away, very high ideals. Yeah, even in that situation, he didn't want to lie. It was kind of really extraordinary here. So he said to the police, this is what he said: "Oh, but please come in and have a look for yourself." Yeah, and straight away, well, because he was very open about it, because it came kind of out naturally, the police said, "Oh yeah, in that case, no need. Yeah, that's fine. Okay." So he closed the door, and then the police walked off. Yeah, because the police felt at the point, if someone invites into the house, well, obviously there's no need to search the house. So that is how he got out of it. Yeah, and it is. It's kind of very interesting psychology. He didn't want to lie. Of course, you can argue that in a situation like that, it is okay to lie, perhaps. Yeah, there are some situations where lying is not bad because you're doing it for a different reason. In this case, someone might have been killed. So is it okay to lie in that situation? I don't think it's a big problem in that kind of situation. But the reality is that when you are with comes, and if you deny it and you look a bit frightened, perhaps they might say, "Oh yeah, you deny it, you're looking frightened. Okay, let's have a look inside." But if you have this courage of the Dhamma, if you have this kind of openness of the heart, yeah, and you kind of open to the moment, and you use and you have a very quick mind, and you see what is the right response at that time, you respond in a very unusual way, and you say, "Oh, please just come in and have a look." Okay, no need to come in here. And this is the idea of metta sometimes. When we have metta in the right way, and this was obviously someone with metta, they were hiding people in the house, they had compassion for others. Sometimes we have a courage that is very powerful. We're no longer afraid, and we can think on our feet, we can think in a new way. Because when you have metta, you don't see the bad in other people. And when you don't see the bad in other people, it is impossible to be afraid of them at the same time. And this was the courage that came out of this person at the time that was very, very difficult in Germany. And then if you carry that courage with you, the courage of metta, the courage of loving kindness, and you take that with you, then eventually when you die, yeah, it's one thing we all have to go eventually. When you come to your deathbed, also you won't be afraid. Yeah, a person who has a lot of metta is not afraid of dying. And the reason is because when you have all that metta, you cannot really foresee a bad future for yourself. When your heart is full of this kindness for the whole world, kindness for yourself, kindness for everyone, the future always looks bright. It always looks hopeful because you have a very positive outlook on things. Yeah, just like this German who was hiding the Jew, he had the positive outlook straight away. You bring that with you all the way to your grave. And of course, the consequences of having that metta is that if you don't have any deeper insight, at the very least, then it takes you to also a very good destination afterwards. So actually, there is no grounds for being fearful because you have all those qualities there anyway. So metta has all of these remarkable qualities, and we use it in the right way, and then they build upon each other in this way. And it really has a very, very, very positive effect on our life in a very broad sense. But I wish to come back to the actual Metta Sutta itself. I have it here in front of me, so I'm going to have a look at some of these words of the things that we chant. Some of you may have chanted the Metta Sutta before. Yeah, the Karaniya, Karaniyam, Karaniyam, Talena, Yantang, Santang, Parang, and all that. And so let's have a look at some of the meanings of the Metta Sutta, what it says. And one of the things that it talks about being skilled in what is good. That is what metta is about, yeah? Being skilled in goodness. When you have a heart of metta, you will always tend to be a good person. And this is really kind of the root idea of metta, the idea of being good, of being kind, of treating people well, but not just other people, but also yourself. Yeah, this is kind of a critical thing. Sometimes you get people who forget themselves and they treat everyone else well, but they forget about themselves. And that is a lack of balance. We have to remember ourselves as well in this equation. So everyone is treated well, and we don't neglect our own happiness and joy in all of this. And then it says, the sutta usually talks about Skill is good, having made the breakthrough to the peaceful state. And this just means that to have real metta, you actually have to really be a noble person, an Arya. They are the ones who usually have the real metta. This is one of the ways you can, if you want to look and to see who is an Arya in this world, yeah, usually you can look for the amount of metta. If someone has a lot of metta, there's a chance that they are Aryas, they are noble ones. If someone is a bit nasty and unpleasant, then not so likely that they are going to be noble ones. Arahants are usually friendly, very, very friendly people. So this is kind of, so we are setting the ideal here quite high. This is how the noble people act. But of course, for all of us, we are in that direction. So we use the noble people as an ideal to kind of head in that way, yeah, in that same direction. And when we do that, we find that everything comes together. One of the things I forgot to mention before is that if you have metta, then also meditation becomes very easy. Yeah, you sit down and bang, you go into this very beautiful, peaceful meditation, especially when you are on retreat. And if you are well rested, and you go into these states very easily as a consequence. And then so that is the background for this. And then the sutta says that you should be able, I have only got one translation here, I'm not sure which one you are using there. You should be able and upright, and very upright. And the Pali words behind this, the idea of being able, meaning that you have the ability to be helpful towards others. Yeah, in the monastic context, one of the some of the monastics that are always most beloved in the monastery are those who are helpful, who have special abilities or qualities in certain areas, and who are able to help out. Yeah, because they look for, they understand the fault, they understand the problems, and they because of that they are very helpful for the community here. Yeah, so it is actually one of those qualities that we look for in monastic, and we kind of give them extra bonus if they are very helpful. And because helpfulness for others and having the ability to, to be of help in this way is just incredibly useful. And it is something that everyone can use in their own life. If you have a certain abilities or certain understanding or certain education or certain background, that you have certain requisites and qualities that you can help other people with. It's like Freddie doing the IT here. Yeah, the reason why they're doing that is because you are, you have that ability. Yeah, you have that understanding which other people may not have, and so you take that job. And what a marvelous thing it is to be able to use one's abilities in a positive way like that, not just to make a living, but to make a contribution to the lives of others. And this is worthwhile reflecting on. Yeah, it's worthwhile feeling so happy about this, having these abilities. It's like me being a monk. One of my abilities is that I know a bit of Pali and I know a bit about the suttas. So I can give talks about these things. Yeah, that's one of the marvelous things about being a monastic, having that ability. And in this way, we work together and we help each other. And each one of us, we can rejoice in our ability to take part in the community. So having special abilities and being able to contribute to the people around us is a wonderful thing. Don't take that. Don't take those abilities and just use them to make an income. Use them also to support the people around you, because that is what ultimately gives rise to so much happiness, both in you and also in the people around you. And so we have all of these abilities, and then they come with the idea of being upright, which that you have in the sutta here. Upright is the word ujju. Ujju literally means straight. It is actually related to the word straight in English. These are all the Indo-European languages. All of these languages are related to each other. So the Pali word ujju is actually related to the word straight in English. So it means that we are straight. Yeah, straight here or right means that you are not crooked. Crooked in Pali means that you are a bit deceptive. You are not really honest. You're not an honorable person. But you are, instead you are straightforward. You are people. When people listen to you, they can trust you. They know that what you're saying is the truth. That you're coming, you're coming from a place inside which is honest and straightforward. And this is such an important quality, and it comes back to the idea really of morality, the importance of morality in Buddhism. Instead of being crooked, we are moral people. And again, this is such an important asset for meditation to work. Without that straightness, without that deep sense of morality inside, we try to treat ourselves and other people in a, well, not just with not doing bad things, but actually deliberately doing good things. When we do that, it lifts up our mind and it makes meditation possible. Many times, probably in the past years when I came to Hong Kong, but one of the things that you find, for example, in the Satipatthana, various explanations of Satipatthana. Yeah? Satipatthana is something we talk a lot about, especially in Theravada. But one of the things it says in there, it says that Satipatthana is practiced based on two things. Yeah, and one of those things is Ujjuka Ditti, straight view, and the other one is Sila. Sila and Ujjuka Ditti. You have to see things in the right way, and you also have to have that Sila, which in this case here actually is Ujju. So Ujju can both refer to view and it can also refer to Sila, meaning morality, meaning kindness, meaning our character, meaning who we are. So this is how meditation is based on. It is practiced based on that. So you have to have this Ujju idea, yeah? And so what about Ujjuka Ditti, straight view? What does that mean? How can we have straight view? And one of the things that you may have heard during the meditation this morning, I was talking about how to be able to really relax in your meditation, how to sit back, imagining yourself just armchair, yeah? And I know that sometimes people say, oh yeah, but if you sit in an armchair, you just fall asleep. Yeah, how can you imagine yourself sitting in an armchair? You have to do something, right? To stay awake and not to kind of just nod away and all of that kind of thing. And so the question is, how do we do this? And sometimes people go to Ajahn Brahm. Ajahn Brahm is the one who teaches this kind of meditation. Yeah, you just sit back, you just relax, you allow everything to be, and then as you allow everything to be, meditation just happens. Yeah, happens. And that's what happens to Ajahn Brahm. Yeah, when he sits back and kind of relaxes, bang, meditation happens. And then people say to Ajahn Brahm, I try to do the same, but it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? And this is the critical point. Yeah, if you just relax and you don't do anything, why is it that your mind doesn't relax and become peaceful and quiet? And one of the reasons is this idea of Ujjuka Ditti, straight view. You have to bring that right view into your meditation practice. The reason why you don't become peaceful when you just relax is because your mind is actually inclining towards other things. Your mind is interested in other things. So you start thinking about your work, you start to think about your family, you start to think about all the problems you have to resolve. You start to thinking about your, whatever it is, all the million things that exist in the world. That's where the mind goes, instead of actually just becoming peaceful. And the reason for that is because the view is wrong. The view is we value the things in the world. Because we value the things in the world, that's where the mind goes. But if you instead value the peace of meditation and you value the goodness in the human heart and all of these kind of things, then your mind leans in a different direction here. So we need to understand what to value. Yeah. It's a superficial thing. You can't just superficially say, yeah, I'm going to value the peace. I'm not going to value the world. What you have to do is that you have to deliberately reflect on these things and deliberately change your values. And this is one of the reasons why what I was talking about this morning, about seeing the world, seeing the problems in the world, how unreliable the world is, how uncertain it is. We never know what's happening around the corner. We never know what's going to happen in the climate or in the political sphere or with anything really. It's so uncertain. And because when we see this, we see also the unreliability in our relationships. Yeah, I don't know how many of you are married or you got a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever it is. But those relationships are also so uncertain. Yeah, we don't know how long they're going to last or what's going to happen. when we see that, the more we see that, the more clear that becomes. We withdraw that interest in that world because we know that world cannot give us any satisfaction. If we rely on that world in the long run, then eventually we will get very disappointed. And the more clearly you see that, the less interest you have in that world. And when you close your eyes, and instead of thinking about that world, the mind goes inside. Yeah, and it goes inside to the peace and quiet inside, and it takes an interest in the spiritual qualities rather than in the world outside. So this is the idea of ujjuka, understanding things in the right way, allowing the mind to lean in the right direction, to have a tendency towards the right and not the wrong things. And you can see how all of these things come together, yeah? And then they make meditation possible. Also talked about sila, about the idea of sila, morality being ujju. And again, the idea is that if you really have a good heart and you are kind and you are caring, you tend to feel good about yourself. And then when you close your eyes and you shut out the world, you have an inner good feeling about yourself. And that inner good feeling that you have with yourself, that also helps you to sustain the meditation practice. Yeah, because you feel good about yourself, then the inner world is going to be positive, and you want to stay in your inner world as a consequence. So the idea of ujju, morality, and even view, all of these things become foundations for metta, for all kinds of meditation. So they're all very important as a consequence. And the sutta then, as it says that also, it says that you have to be suvacho is the Pali. The translation here is amenable to advice. I cannot remember the translation you gave me. You gave me two translations. One was the one we do the chanting sometimes. What does that have? What translation does that have? Have you got that in front of you?
Yeah. I've sent out to everyone the Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation.
What about the other one here?
No, well, I didn't send the other one.
Okay. So that's fine then, because I think the other one is wrong. I just wanted to point that out. And that's the one we chant all the time. And I think it says something like gentle in speech. Is that right?
Yeah, I remember something.
I'm not sure. Never mind. It doesn't matter. I can't remember now. I should remember this because it's very gentle, conceited. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure. I think something is missing there in the other chant. But this one has the idea of being amenable to advice. Yeah, the Pali word is suvacho, and this is what it means. And again, one of those very important qualities in Buddhism is that if you are going to make progress on the path, then if someone gives you some advice that is well meant, yeah, maybe they even say something about your conduct, that maybe you can improve your conduct in a certain way, then it's often important to be amenable to that, to be open to that possibility of being corrected. Yeah, of course, but sometimes people, they correct you for the wrong reasons because they are upset or whatever, then you don't really have to listen. But at other times, people will actually correct you in a more positive way. Yeah, it's like when Ajahn Brahm corrects you, then you kind of listen. Actually, Ajahn Brahm almost never corrects you, and that's kind of the nice thing about people like Ajahn Brahm. But if some of these great masters or teachers or whoever they are, if they correct you, and then you tend to listen. Why? Because you respect them so highly. Yeah, if you go to Ajahn Ganha's monastery in Thailand and Ajahn Ganha says something to you, which almost never happens, but if he does, whoa, you listen. Yeah, because you know that someone like Ajahn Ganha, they have your best interest at heart. He's one of the famous meditation teachers or forest teachers in Thailand. So it's good to be open to advice. Good to be open to the possibility of being corrected. One of those little suttas I really like from the Dhammapada, and they say that when someone points out a flaw in your character, a fault in your conduct, you should see it as someone pointing out a treasure. Isn't that kind of astonishing? Yeah, if someone points out a flaw in your character, so you should see it as someone pointing to a treasure. And the reason for that is because if someone can point out a flaw, maybe something you cannot see for yourself, something that may be blocking your progress on the path, then if it is like you have suddenly you get the opportunity to make more progress on the path. If you haven't pointed this out, you may not have had that opportunity. And of course, progress on the path is like a treasure, because this is where real happiness and real contentment can be found. So it's like finding a treasure. So if you're able to think like that, when somebody points out a fault, you think, wow, okay, let me think about this. Do they have a point? Is it true what they say? And you have to be very humble. You have to be able to take these things. You have to be very open to thinking in a different way, not to take it personally, but just remember that we are all conditioned in a certain way. It's not really our fault that we are the way we are. We just happen to be this way. So if someone points out the fault, you don't have to feel bad about that, because no conditioning. Instead, you think, well, do they have a point? And if you realize they have a point, then you can make a change. If you realize what they say is nonsense, well, then of course you can just forget about it. You don't have to worry about it. And this is one of those beautiful values, that the Buddha teaches, this idea of being open to these things. It doesn't mean we should be open to everything here. It doesn't mean we should always listen to people's, silly things when they say things, because a lot of the time people just, people are upset and they say something because of that. But it means that when there really is something, then we have the ability to listen. Then the Pali says that we should be gentle. All of these things come together, and we should be without arrogance. It says here as well. Anatimana, gentle is this nice word, mudu. Mudu means gentle in Pali. And so the idea of being soft, soft-hearted, gentle-hearted, not a kind of hard and harsh individual. And we had a sheep. Many years ago, we had a sheep in our monastery. We don't know where it came from. It came just walking into the monastery one day, and then Ajahn Brahm gave it the name Mudu. That was the first Mudu we had in our monastery, because it was a little tiny little sheep. It was a little kind of little one, and it was wool, so it was really, really soft. And it came walking into the monastery, and it became like a mascot for the monks. So we gave it food, and we gave it water, and all of these kind of things. But this tiny little sheep, it wasn't able to, it didn't survive. It died after a few days, and it was like a tragedy in the monastery when this sheep died, because it had already been given a name. And once you give something a name, it becomes like dear to you. So we had given it the name Mudu. So we should all try to be like that little sheep, soft, innocent, a sheep that doesn't really have any aggression. It is just very gentle beings, and this is the right way of being. And one of the interesting things about this word mudu is that it recurs in the jhana states. When we talk about the jhana formulas, there are standard formulas for the 4 jhanas, the jhanas, deep states of meditation, and you will hear Ajahn Brahm talk about these sometimes. And when you practice these deep states of meditation all the way to the pinnacle, all the way to the top, the deepest one is the 4th jhana. This is the deepest one on the Noble Eightfold Path. When you get to the 4th jhana, you have finished the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. How profound it is. And one quality that is there, you know what that quality is? Mudu. So when you come to the 4th jhana, you are mudu, you are soft, you are gentle. And it kind of, it's obvious in one way that obviously a person who is so profound in the meditation practice, they're going to be very soft and gentle. But on the other hand, when they're so strong, you're also a very, very strong person. When you come and you see some of these great teachers, wherever they are, it's like when you come into the presence, you feel a bit of, whoa, this is almost too much. You feel these very powerful spiritual qualities. And it's very natural to be a little bit afraid of people like that when you first meet them. I remember, I'm not afraid of Ajahn Brahm anymore because I see him every day. You can't be afraid every day. So after a while, you relax in the presence of somebody. But I remember when I went to visit Ajahn Ganha, straight away when I came into the monastery, I was a bit like, whoa, okay, got to be careful here. You don't really know. It didn't take long before you relax because Ajahn Ganha is such a beautiful character. I don't know if you've heard of Ajahn Ganha, but one of the famous monks in Thailand, a very close friend of Ajahn Brahm as well. And but most people are a little bit kind of afraid straight away because you can feel the spiritual power, the very, very strong mind, which is there behind the facade, comes from the power of samadhi. Ajahn Ganha, he's the kind of person, he goes and meditates in the morning. And obviously when he meditates, he has a very profound meditation. And then when after he comes out of his meditation in the morning, I was there only a few months, or 10 months ago now. And then when he comes out of his meditation, then the rest of the day, he is like this superpower. He had this energy, beaming energy. And even though his physical body is very weak and he can barely walk actually these days, still you can feel the power of the mind behind that physical body. And then he walks around like this nuclear reactor. He walks this kind of powerful energy, bright energy, beautiful energy, walks around all day. And you can, all day long, that energy derived from that meditation, one strong meditation in the morning that carries him through the whole day. And despite that power of the mind, there is gentleness there. There's that softness inside. It's strange, this strange combination of very strong mind with very powerful gentleness coming together in this way. And this is the paradox of the Buddhist path, that when you become kind, it doesn't mean that you can be walked over by other people. It doesn't mean that people can take advantage of you. You try to take advantage of Ajahn Ram and see what happens. It's not going to work, Have you tried to take advantage of Ajahn Ram? I wouldn't recommend it, but if you try, I can assure you it's not going to work. Or try to take advantage of Ajahn Ganha in Thailand. Again, it's not going to work. If you try to take advantage of the Buddha, all you're going to do is make lots of bad karma. So you can't do that. They're very strong. At the same time, they are very gentle and very soft. And this is kind of what we should aim for also in our lives. We shouldn't become like doormats for people, anything like that. You have the strength of the mind, but you also have this endless loving kindness for the people around you, this endless gentleness of the heart. You always treat people well, but you also know the limits. You know when to say stop, when not to engage in whatever way is appropriate. So the idea of being muddu, being gentle, you have to get the right balance. And all of these qualities, they go with the translation here, where this says that you should not be arrogant. Arrogance is the opposite of being gentle. Arrogant often means that you are stiff, your mind is inflexible, you have a sense of superiority to other people. You don't have that gentleness of the heart and all of these kind of things. And arrogance is very bad, because if you always think that you know better than other people, it is the opposite of humility. It is the opposite of having the ability to be criticized, or your faults pointed out by others. You're not really able to take those things aboard because you know better. So humility is a very important part of it. And humility means that, again, you are open. You're open to different ways of looking at the world. You're open to new ideas. You don't shut things out. It doesn't mean that you are too open. It doesn't mean that you cannot just take everything on board. It means that you have an open mind and you are willing to reflect on and think about things in a new way, instead of being arrogant and stubborn and conceited about things. So it's a very important quality here. And one of the ways of thinking about arrogance or non-arrogance or non-conceit and non-pride, and this is one of the ways that relates directly to the idea of conceit in Buddhism. It's one of my favorite teachings, and I teach this every year. I give a lecture at Curtin University, one of the large universities here in Perth, and every year they have a human rights lecture, and how religion relates to human rights. This is a graduate class in human rights, and I go there and I talk about the Buddhist contribution to human rights. And one of the teachings I always bring out of the Buddha is the idea of the Buddhist idea of the three conceits. Buddhism have three kinds of conceit: the equality conceit, or the inferiority conceit, the superiority conceit, and the equality conceit. It's kind of, I think it's the only religion that has the idea of equality conceit. It doesn't sound like conceit at all. In fact, in large parts of the world now, like in Australia, everyone is supposed to be equal. That's kind of the ideal, is that everyone is equal, the same. So equality conceit is kind of weird. But the idea behind this is that we should never really be conceited. There's no need to be conceited about anything here. So when you see a person, a person who is different from you, who is maybe poorer than you are, who is less intelligent or less educated or lower social status or whatever it is, who is immoral even, instead of being conceited and considering your own superiority, you actually remember that the conceit is not something that the Buddha recommends. And one way of doing that is precisely to understand why the Buddha talks about the idea of the equality conceit. And the reason the Buddha talks about equality conceit is that really, in the end, we cannot compare each other to other people. We are not comparable to anyone else. And the reason is because you can only compare things that actually have a fixed quality. Yeah, if something is a fixed quality, for example, something is green and something is blue, that kind of fixed color, you can compare the green to the blue. But human beings, we are so changeable. We're moving around all the time. Yeah, we wake up in the morning, we're a bit grumpy, and then later in the day we are more friendly, and then we are kind of jealous, and then we are, we have whatever it is, we are all generous, and then we're always changing around in this way. And so we're always changing. So what are you going to compare? Which part of you is going to be comparable to someone else? And if you look more in the long run, in the really long run, you see how people go from being poor to being wealthy. Or if you are unlucky, you go from being wealthy to being poor. You go from being, high social status to maybe being a low social status. Sometimes people go from being uneducated to educated. Sometimes they may lose their intelligence during life because of they do something stupid like drinking too much or something like that. We're always moving around. And these days, people are even changing their genders. Yeah, you go from being a man to a woman, or a woman to being a man, because they're not happy with the way things are. So always moving around, always changing around. So who is the real you? Who is the real person? What should you identify with any of these kind of things? Are these things really essential? And the answer is no. Nothing there is essential. And then if you look from life to life, it's even more fluid. Yeah, we get born in one country, in one culture. The next life, we're born in another country, another culture. We're born as one gender, then another gender, not one, and then in a good family, in a bad family. We're born in the mafia, we're born in the non-mafia, or we are born in the intelligent, or we're born a little bit stupid, and all of these kind of things. So we are nobody in particular. We're always moving around. And this, when you think about the world in this way, you take away the idea of conceit, and you realize that all of these possibilities, they are already inside of us. Yeah, we have the possibilities. These things come out of us eventually. Eventually, we get reborn here, we get reborn there. We have been all of these things in the past, and we will become all of these things again in the future, unless we make an end of this, we practice this path to the end, in which is one anymore. So this is how we overcome conceit, how you overcome arrogance, by seeing that there is no inherent difference between you and other people. Yeah? People sometimes think, you become, when you are helpful, when you practice well, when you are generous towards others, you look down on other people. Never look down upon anyone, even if they are poorer than you, they are less educated than you, they are more stupid than you are, whatever it is. Never look down upon anyone else, because you also have been there, and one day you will go back to that same place again. It's a very powerful way of eliminating any kind of differences between human beings, and seeing how at a very deep level we actually are the same. It is not a matter of equality, but we are the same in the sense that we are all conditioned phenomena walking through the world. Yeah, every one of us is a conditioned phenomenon. Do you feel like conditioned phenomena? To feel like a conditioned phenomenon, right? But this is basically, in the end, what we are. This conditioned phenomena, these kind of little blobs of meat walking around in the world, and then always changing, moving around, back and forth. This is what it is about. So be gentle and soft and not arrogant about things. And then you have the idea of being content and easily supported. Being content with what you have. And for the monks, they have some beautiful images of the contentment of being a monastic, where all you have is your bowl and robes, and as you travel throughout the world, that is all you ever take with you is your bowl and robe, and you leave everything else behind. And not only is that all you have, but you don't want anything more. You don't desire anything more, because you realize that all those things that you desire in the world, actually, they're so ephemeral anyway and so uncertain. So why bother about all of those things? You're going to have to give it up when you die. And all that happens is that in the meantime, if you amass a lot of things, all you do is you attach to things that then you have to give up when you die. It's a beautiful thought, right? All you do when you build up property and things, all these things that you desire, all you are doing is that you are building up a debt that had to be paid. Why? Because you're attached to these things. And then when you die, you have to be detached from all of those things that you have attached to. And that's a bit easy content with what we have already, because all of these things in the world, actually, they don't really have such deep value. But your mind, the qualities of your heart, well, these are the things that you will take with you into the future. So you focus on those instead. So you are content with your life as you have it now, yeah? Whatever it is. You don't actually always look for more, always look for something else. Instead, you look inside instead. The idea of contentment in the suttas, they have the image of the bird which flies with the wings as its only burden. Yeah, a bird, all it has is the wings. And of course, the bird, you have to have the wings. The wings is the minimum requirement for a bird. If a bird doesn't have wings, well, it's not a bird anymore. It needs that to kind of fly. And as a monk or a nun, your only burden should ideally be your robes and your bowl. That should really be all you have. Very few monastics live up to that ideal. There are a few, and there are a few come quite close. But ideally, you have very, very little as a monastic. Ajahn Brahm tells the story when he was a young monk, and one day he went up to the Ajahn Chah. Ajahn Chah was Ajahn Brahm's teacher in Thailand, and he went up to his room, and he came into his room, and he looked out. There was nothing there. There was a bowl in the corner, there was a robe slung over a line, and that was pretty much it. There was almost nothing there. Ajahn Chah was one of these monks who owned very little in this world. If you come to Bodhinyana Monastery now, and you go to Ajahn Brahm's cave, his cave, one of the big tourist attractions at Bodhinyana Monastery. I'm not sure if that's a good idea, to be honest, but anyway, it's like one of those big tourist attractions. Sometimes you see big groups of people coming from overseas. Oh, why are you here? Oh, we come to see Ajahn Brahm's cave. That's what they say. And I always think, I think, poor Ajahn Brahm, you get all these tourists kind of coming into his most kind of private cave. And sometimes it leaves a residue. Sometimes Ajahn Brahm, I come into my cave and all I have this perfume smell in the cave, because he had this kind of large group of tourists coming into his cave. But then he kind of just airs it out a little bit, and he kind of gets the peace coming back, and then the peace kind of reestablishes itself in that cave. It's a beautiful place. You can go into Ajahn Brahm's cave, and it's very peaceful. But one of the things about this cave, it's very simple. There's nothing really in there. All there is a tiny little mattress on the floor. There's a Buddha statue on the wall. And that's pretty much it. And that is where Ajahn Brahm lives his life. So simple. And that simplicity also helps you to remind you of meditation, what meditation is about, the purpose of meditation practice, of letting go, allowing things to be and not accumulating. So it kind of leans the mind in the right direction. So being content with little, it says here as well, it has the idea of being easy to support, not being a demanding kind of person. And this is one of the things I like as to be a monk. I personally try also to be easy to support. I don't try to be too demanding. I often get a lot of invitations. I get people say, "Oh, Venerable, what would you like?" And I said, "What do you need?" And I said, "Don't really need anything." And and actually, it's a very nice thing to say that you don't need anything here. But after a while, sometimes people get a bit disappointed. I would like to give you something. Isn't there something you need? No, not really. So when a monk or a nun says that there's nothing they need, actually, you should be happy about that, because that is the ideal way here. And sometimes there will be something that you need as a monastic, and then it's very nice to have that invitation there, so you can take it up. Occasionally there will be things, and sometimes I've been to Hong Kong now a number of times, as many of you will know, and sometimes people have done just that, and they have supplied me precisely with things that I needed. That is marvelous, because of course then, like a pair of sandals or something like that, it's a wonderful thing, because then actually it is a requirement. But basically, a monastic, ideally, the ideal answer is there anything you need? Not really. I don't need anything at all. In fact, those things that I do need, no one else can supply. Yeah, the things you need are wisdom. The things you need are deep meditation. These are the real things, and no one else can supply those things for you. So you just have to kind of get into the practice. So then it also talks about having few duties and being frugal. Yeah, living in a simple way, not needing many things. Acting, having few duties, it means actually not working a lot. Yeah, just giving occasionally a talk to the Hong Kong people, but not too many talks to the Hong Kong people, just the right amount. And having few duties in general, not doing too much stuff, all kind of things, but finding that balance. You have a light life leading to a light mind. And this is true for lay people as well. Yeah. Not doing too many things, but finding that balance in your life where you can kind of go through life without any burdens. It's such an important thing. Simplicity of life. So you have frugal, you have few things, live in a simple way, and you have few duties. You have peaceful faculties, and you are judicious, it says here. Peaceful faculties is related to the idea of sense restraint. The idea that you keep your senses under control. You don't allow ill will and anger to arise or desires to arise in your mind too easily, but you have a sense of mindfulness with you. You bring the mindfulness with you during the day, and you can see when the bad qualities arise in your mind. You can see that happening, and then you can change your attitude, think in a different way, use the wisdom to keep your mind even in a way. The mind is steady throughout the day. It doesn't kind of go up and down, jump up and down all the time. This is the idea of having a peaceful faculties. Yeah. So you have peaceful faculties. You are judicious. Nipako. This is related a little bit to the idea, I think, of being mindful and having a clear awareness, all of that. I'm not going to say too much about that because we are running out of time. You have to be courteous is one of the word here. The idea of being courteous to the world around you, not to kind of harsh and these kind of things, but you treat people well in general. And it says here, without greed, when you are among the families, that's actually for monastics, because monastics sometimes they can be greedy. Yeah, these are my supporters. Stay away from my supporter. Don't. And that is kind of the wrong way of thinking. Or have greed about the Dhamma. You give special teachings to certain people. These are my disciples. They get special teachings. Don't give that to anyone else. But that is how you create cults. That's how you create sects. You have the inner kind of group of people that you give special teachings to, and then everyone else, they get the more ordinary teachings. But Buddhism should never be like that. It shouldn't be cultish. There shouldn't be special teaching to anyone. Everything should be open to everyone else. So we shouldn't be greedy about the Dhamma. The Dhamma should be open to the whole world. Why? Because the Dhamma is healing. The Dhamma is there for people's happiness. If we hold back the Dhamma, we're holding back the happiness of people, and we're not helping them to emerge from suffering. So it's so important to actually be able to do that. And then the sutta says we should not do anything, however slight, because of which other people, the wise people, might criticize you. So you always remember that every action you do, everything you think, everything you say, all of these things matters. And one of the critical things on the Buddhist path is to have this persistency of morality, the persistency of kindness. And when you can have that persistency of kindness, that is when things really start to come together. You don't allow even the slightest things to go wrong, but you are kind persistently all the time. It is hard to do, to be consistently kind in this way. But this is kind of the idea. And then it says here, may all beings be happy and secure. May they be inwardly happy. Yeah, and this is kind of the idea that we use when we do the metta meditation. The idea, sometimes we use this as like a mantra, something we say, may all beings be happy, have that intention for the happiness of other people. And that is where that comes from. It comes out of the Metta Sutta originally, may all beings be happy and secure. And so what does it mean, all beings? And of course, that is the next part of this. I'll go through this a little bit quick now because we only have a few more minutes. And all of these beings, they are, you have here the idea of beings that are frail or firm, without omission, not omitting anyone. Those that are large, middling, short, fine, or gross. It's a kind of unusual sequence there. You have compassion for the large people and the small and the short people and everything in between. So, and I think it's just because it is verse. It's kind of a strange kind of collection of words sometimes. The seen and the unseen. Yeah. So I was talking this morning. I was saying that you should also have compassion for the ghosts. Yeah, and this is kind of an important point because the ghosts are unseen. And a lot of time people are afraid of ghosts. You find this everywhere. People, oh, I really want to see a ghost. But there's no need to really be afraid of ghosts. And one of the ways of overcoming that fear is to have compassion for them, to realize that these are beings that are seeking happiness also in the world. And if you see them, it is because they come to you and they're actually seeking for some kind of happiness. So instead of being afraid of them, you have compassion for them, and maybe you share some merit with them. Maybe the ghost is a family member of yours, pastor. There is a nice sutta where the Buddhists ask, well, if we share the merit with the departed, with the ghosts, what if we have no family member in the ghost realm? What happens then? And the Buddha says it is impossible that you should have no family member in the ghost realm. Because family members go back so far. We have so many family, especially if you consider past lives, we have so many family members. Someone is bound to be in the ghost realm. So we can always share the merit with these ghosts. So ghosts are often weak beings, which then actually need compassion and kindness. So don't be afraid of ghosts. Welcome the ghosts into your life. If you have a chance to see a ghost, think, yay, a ghost, finally I've seen a ghost. And why do I say that? I say that because if you see a ghost, actually it is marvelous, because seeing a ghost, it opens up the possibility to see something larger, a larger reality. You start to see something, that the world is more than just the world that we normally live in, the world of ordinary human beings, the world around us. It also includes some hidden aspects. And when you see those hidden aspects in the world, actually it opens up your eyes to that larger picture. So if you're lucky enough to see a ghost, you think, wow, so lucky. So happy to see a ghost, this incredible opportunity, instead of thinking, oh, I'm afraid of ghosts. And that is really to have the right attitude, because it gives you an insight into a larger reality that most people don't have any insight into, and that can be very, very useful. So you have compassion for all of these beings. It also includes the devas, the gods, And I think one of the things that I also did this morning, if you were there for the metta this morning, think about the devas. The devas are these beautiful beings, often beings of light, that were reborn in this beautiful location because of their good qualities. So imagine this beautiful being with beautiful qualities in their heart, with a very high degree of generosity, of kindness, and all of these kind of things. And remember that these beings exist in the world. They are here and they support the world in a very profound sense. And just by recalling those qualities, actually, it makes you feel happy. that there are these devas in the world. And now you, every one of us, is practicing the same way as those devas practiced to become devas. So we are also heading in that direction. So you remember beautiful qualities that we exist in the world. We are part of a world of beautiful qualities. And you also know that very likely you, every one of us, is heading in that same direction because we have those qualities as well. It makes the world more beautiful because it's so easy to focus on darkness and the negative things. But these beings are actually out there. So we focus on all of that. And then the sutta carries on like this. All the beings near and far have come to be and will come to be. May all of these beings be inwardly happy. Everyone, no one is excluded. Even the worst people in the world, even your worst enemy. Have you got any enemies? I don't know if you have any enemies, but I would really recommend you not to have any enemies. It is not really a good idea as a Buddhist to have any enemies. Please don't have any enemies. If other people are not nice towards you, if other people want to be your enemy, that's their problem. But please don't have any enmity towards other people. We cannot really afford enemies in the world. Instead, forgive, let go, understand that other people are frail, they are perfect, they don't really know what they are doing. Why should we be angry and upset with other people? Any enemies in the world, be friendly towards everyone, and then you have the right idea. So even the worst people in the world, anyone in your life, having no enmity towards anyone. And then the sutta carries on, and one of the most interesting things in the sutta is the very famous line in verse number 149 there of those verses I sent you, which says that just as a mother would protect her child, the Pali word is putta, it can mean son or child, her only child with her life, so you should develop this kindness, this metta towards other beings. I just want to comment very briefly on that before we go on to the Q&A, because such a beautiful idea and beautiful line. Just like a mother towards her only child. And remember, when you look at the people in the world, we have all been each other's children before. Everyone who is taking part in this session today, you have all been children of each other. I have probably been the son of all of you. You have all been my children in the past life, and each one of you have been children of the other. And once we see that, once you see other people as potentially your son or your daughter, your child, you look at them in a very different way. Because how do you look at your child? Well, when you look at your child, you are very forgiving. You're very able to deal with their defects, the downsides. Even if they make a big mistake in life, you can forgive and you can let go. This is mothers do in particular, fathers also to some extent, but this talks about mothers in particular. You're always able to let go. And the reason why you're able to let go, because a mother is always able to see good qualities in her child. She has seen the child growing up when the child was just a small, sweet toddler and a baby with all those beautiful qualities you have as a child, and seeing the child growing up. And no matter how many bad the child does as a teenager or when they become in their 20s or whatever, everyone has to go through a period of rebellion. Mother always remembers the good qualities in her child. And in the same way, we should always remember that there are good qualities in all the people around us. Look at all the people. Look at me, look at each other as your child. And then you can be so much more forgiving. You can let go of any problems that are there. And we have a very different attitude towards each other. It's one of those beautiful, skillful means that allows us to pick out the positive aspects of reality and not worry too much about the negative things, and also forgive the negative things at the same time. Anyway, there you are. That is a short introduction to the Metta Sutta. It really deserves much more than that. I've only given you a short introduction. The long introduction or the long version takes 3 or 4 hours. This is the short version, but hopefully you will find some of these ideas helpful in your practice. These are all supposed to be practical ideas, and there are ways to think about the world. And as you start to think about the world in this way, it starts to become very powerful. So train yourself to think about things in the right way, and as you do that, you will start to reap the benefits of this. But now we're supposed to do the Q&A. Is that right, Freddie?
Yes. Thanks, Ajahn. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So let's start the Q&A. And I have grouped the questions into similar topics. So because there are a lot of questions, so I'm not sure if Ajahn can answer all of them. So I will ask one from each topic first. So let's start. First question. From the time to focus on close friends to the end of the meditation period, I could not hold my tears. I lost my father and husband last year in May within 2 weeks. They were my only family. I'm grateful I have many friends that gave me support. I'm very resilient. I have not been like this during this meditation. Your advice, please, Ajahn.
Okay. So it is okay. No problem really with having tears. Tears is fine. Sometimes the emotions need to come out, and it's fine to have those emotions there. But the bond that we have to the closest family members are very strong and very powerful. And it was surprising if we didn't feel a little bit sad sometimes when people pass away. But one of the tricks to use to overcome any remaining sadness that you may have in people who were close to you, like your father or husband in this case, is to two ways of thinking about things. And when we become sad, the reason we become sad is because we focus on what we have lost. You think, oh, I had such a wonderful father, I had such a wonderful husband, all of these things. Now they are gone. And when you think about the things we have lost in life, then we become sad. But there is another way of thinking. Instead of thinking of what we have lost, we think of the benefits that we obtain by the person around. And I remember not so long ago, my mother also died, and my sister died soon afterwards. And I always felt that, wow, I was so lucky to have a good father. I was so lucky to have a sister who also looked, whenever I came back to Norway, she was always look after me, even though I had decided on the strange idea of becoming a Buddhist monk, which was kind of incomprehensible to her. Still, she would look after me and be kind to me. So that was kind of astonishing. Even though I was a weirdo, she was still kind to me in that sense. And so I felt really grateful, for having had that opportunity to have had a good father and a good sister in my life, and how it helped me and made me the person I am today. Without them, I wouldn't have been who I am today. They supported me, helped me form my character. They allowed me to become a Buddhist monk, ultimately, and ultimately they were very proud of that, and they were really felt that this was actually a very positive thing for even my whole family that this happened. And you can think in the same way. Think of how fortunate you were to have a good father, to have maybe a loving husband who was there to support you, and how that has helped you to become the person you are today. How lucky you were. It could have been so much worse. Thank you, husband, for being there with me all those years, for supporting me, and for making me into the person I am today. What a wonderful thing that is. To have had that opportunity to be with people like that. And then instead of feeling sadness, you feel a sense of gratitude, to the people who passed away. You think, wow, my life wouldn't have been the same without you. Thank you for helping. So this is one of the ways that really helps you to understand, and it gives a sense of gratitude and a very positive emotion when people pass away and we lose friends or whatever else it is. But the other thing to remember in Buddhism is that in Buddhism, very often, when someone dies, it is not the end of things. Sometimes you meet people again in the future. And it is well known that sometimes we go from one family and then you die. And then when you die, you meet them again after you die. There you are. Wow, dad, husband, what are you doing here? nice to see you again, or maybe sometimes maybe we don't want to see them again. Yeah, it varies depending on what kind of relationship we had. But sometimes we meet them again in the future. Yeah, and sometimes it's like having a holiday apart. And you know what it is like if you have lived with someone, especially a husband. Sometimes you go through difficult periods, and sometimes having a holiday apart can establish the positive energy in that relationship. You need a bit of distance to appreciate it. Yeah, as they say in English, absence makes the heart grow fonder. You become more loving if you have a bit of absence. So sometimes you can just think of dying as a period apart. Yeah, and then quite possibly, depending on how you live your life, if you have similar qualities to your father and husband, very likely you will then get reborn and you will meet them again. Oh, there you are. Oh, we had a long holiday apart. Okay, wow. Now it's even nicer to meet you than it was before. So sometimes it's just a matter of how the perspective that we use, how we think about it, and things may come back. It is not always the case that we get reborn again with other people. It depends on how you develop, and if you really develop your heart in a very high way, you may go beyond that. It's very hard to say, but often it happens. So often it's just a matter of perspective when we think about these things. So continue to have a sense of gratitude for your father and your husband and wish them well wherever they are. If you feel it brings up too much sadness in your meditation, then don't focus on them. Then don't focus on them in the meditation practice. Instead, focus maybe on, I like to focus not on individuals, but I like to focus just on the directions, the north, the south. And then I just remind myself that in all of these directions, there are lots of good people. Yeah, they are the devas, there are all of these kind of things. When you don't bring individuals to the meditation, you just have the directions, it's less likely that it will bring up these negative emotions, because the negative emotions or the heartache or the grief, it usually has to do with individuals, and then you will be able to be more neutral as a consequence.
Thanks, Ajahn. So,
okay.
Next question. I have recently developed a heart condition due to stress, and I was wondering if I was being kind by not sharing this information with my loved ones, since it will not benefit them in any way and also make them worry about my well-being. Is this wise, or is this omission of the truth?
I think you should. I think it's important to be honest with your family members. I think it's important to tell them what is happening in your life. Imagine that you have a heart condition, and then one day you die. You die. Maybe, this can happen. You die, or you become very sick, or whatever, and then they have no chance to say goodbye. They have no chance to, do those things that are important in life. So they may feel a bit cheated if you don't tell them. So I think it is important to tell them, one day when you feel that it is the right time, it is the right place, and then sit down and tell them about the problem. Because when we do that, there's many things that comes out of that. And one of the things that comes out of that is that we give other people a chance to care, to be kind to you. We give other people a chance to see the reality. Yes, illness and dying and old age and all these kind of things, they are difficult to deal with, but they are also called, in Buddhism, they're called the Devadutas. A Devaduta is a messenger from the gods, a messenger from the Devas, because it tells us the reality about life. And when people hear this reality, if they are wise, they actually become more spiritual as a consequence. Yes, they maybe become sad for a while. Yes, it may be difficult for them to take for a while, but in the long run, it may actually have very beneficial consequences. So I think you should share it. You should bring it out. Otherwise, they don't have that opportunity to change, to understand the reality, to meet the Devadutas, and also to care, to have an understanding. But be wise about it. Say it at the right time, at the right place. Everyone is, kind of relaxed and at ease. say it when you feel that you have a kind of a close, good communication with your family members, and then it can come out, and then you say it in the right way, so that it doesn't become too difficult for them. And you can just remind them, that this is the nature of life, and this is the way it has to be. And sometimes that nature has to, be honest about things. So that would be my advice. So just be smart about it, and then see if you can do it.
Okay, thanks, Ajahn. Next question. How do we practice compassion on someone who has selfish desires, and through such desires are actually impeding the progress of activities that is beneficial for the company's greater good and other staff's wellness? Although I understand that hurt people hurt others, I'm not sure if I understand that, but I still have internal conflict on how to work with them. Being compassionate is one thing, but what if it affects the overall organization needs and others?
Yeah, that is a difficult one. Yeah, it's hard to sometimes know what to do, and I can understand that there is a conflict there. So you always have. We need to make a distinction on how we act on the personal level and how we act on the professional level, company, because you have a certain responsibility towards the company as well. So that is one side of things. But then how we deal with it personally is a different side of things. And personally, you should always have compassion. You should understand that this person is misguided. They don't really understand what is going on. They are foolish. They are creating hurt for themselves in the long run. And when you understand that, you can have compassion as a person. So develop that compassion as a person. And once you have that compassion as a person, then you can see if there is a way of helping them. You don't try to help them out of anger. You don't try to help them because you are upset, you're fed up with the way that they live, but you help them because you understand they actually need help. They need help because otherwise they are going to have some very serious problems. So you can be honest with them. You can say, actually, the way you are doing things doesn't work in this company, the way you're doing things. You're making it difficult for others. And if you carry on like this, we may have to fight. We may have to let you go, not because we don't want to give you a chance, not because we want to hurt you, but because it doesn't fit with the overall organization. Is there any way we can resolve this problem together? Is there any way we can do things differently so that you can become part of the team and we can work together? So you give them a chance to change. You give them a chance to show that they have another side in them, and give them kindness, give them that positivity. And when you give them that, and then you give them the chance, some possibility that they may change. Sometimes they don't. And if it gets too difficult, and if they are incapable of changing, even when you give them kindness and compassion, then sometimes your responsibility to the company and your co-workers maybe sometimes it is to even sack the person and to ask them to leave because they don't actually function in that company. And that is the reality of the professional life. You don't do it out of ill will. You don't do it because it is, because you are upset with that person. You do it for the greater good of the company. If it brings everyone else down, then sometimes you have to protect the rest of the company to make things work. It is just like in your own life. If there are people in your own lives, there are always some people in our lives that we feel are difficult. If someone is very difficult, you don't spend a lot of time with them, because if you spend a lot of time with them, it's like torturing yourself. So because you have compassion for yourself, realize that you need to withdraw, you need to be by yourself, you need to not spend too much time with that person. If you do, all you're doing is creating suffering for yourself. But it's important to have compassion for yourself. So in the same way, sometimes we just need to make these difficult decisions in life, and that is just mixing up spiritual qualities with being pragmatic and practical as to what works in the world.
Thanks, Ajahn. Next question. Dear Ajahn, with regards to metta meditation, I can't seem to embrace it fully. From all the testimonials of those who practice metta meditation, I don't have that experience of joy, lightness, rapture, etc., which everyone experienced. I always feel lost when I do meditation, so much so it feels robotic while doing it. Please help. Thanks, Ajahn.
Okay, that's good. Thank you for being honest. It is really when you are honest that you make progress. Everyone, if you think everyone is experiencing these things, well, I know everyone experiences these things. A lot of people have exactly that problem. You are not the only one. Yeah, you're not alone in this world. Have that problem, and sometimes I think everybody this happens. Yeah, you are tired or it's a difficult day, and you try to do meditation, and your mind doesn't have the energy or whatever. Everybody has that problem sometimes. Some people have it all the time. A lot of people have it all. It is not easy to do. So the reason why it is hard is basically because you need to come back again to the more simpler things on the Buddhist path. Yeah, you need to develop the metta in ordinary activities. Yeah, how we relate to the people around us. And if you can be kind to the people around you in ordinary life, yeah, remember that you have the power to make the difference for other people just by the way you speak. Yeah, saying something kind to somebody, saying something that goes to the heart. Yeah, reminding someone, wow, you have been such a good friend of all this for so many years. Thank you for your wonderful friendship over all these years. How often do we say that to other people? Not so often, but sometimes we should. You shouldn't say it all the time, because if you say it all the time, it's meaning. But occasionally you say these things, yeah, or thank your colleagues, or say something kind to your family members, yeah. You just say, oh, I really, husband or wife, what a wonderful thing it is to have a husband and wife like you. Because it's so easy to forget. And then when we do that, when we are kind to people in this way, we are actually reconditioning our mind to see the positive of people, because you can only be kind to people when you see the positive in them. Yeah, you're actually reminding yourself of the positive in other people, and then you take that further, and you also learn to develop this idea of the perception of metta in other people, seeing their qualities, looking at your fellows, remember that these are good people trying to do the right thing and all this, yeah? And you recondition your mind to have compassion in the world and to have metta in the world for the people around you. And as you do that, as you practice in this way, then gradually your heart changes. And one day when you sit down, you will actually start to feel something in your metta meditation. But even if you don't feel anything at present, it is not necessarily wasted, because what you are learning, you're learning to think about the world in a new way. You're learning to refocus. You're focusing on the goodness in the world. You're focusing on the positive qualities. And if you keep on doing that, eventually it will work. Eventually it will give benefits. In the meantime, put the most emphasis on ordinary metta in life. Yeah? And then gradually, as these things mature, then you will also start to feel something in your meditation practice.
Thanks, Ajahn. Next question. Dear Ajahn, can you share some techniques on silencing my mind when it is particularly chatty during my meditation? I tried being kind and accepting, but it just creates more thoughts. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So you maybe the trying is the problem. Yeah, you're trying to be kind and you're trying to be accepting. Sometimes we try too much, and the trying is actually the problem. Yeah. So when we try, the trying creates the thinking. Yeah. It is by not trying that we don't create thinking. So sometimes it is very hard. Sometimes the mind is already chatty. Yeah, it's kind of going on. It's a very strong conditioning. It can be very hard to overturn. But the reason why you're chatty is finding some degree of happiness there. You're finding some need to do it. Yeah, the mind has a certain momentum from the past, or you're actually enjoying it. So if it is just a momentum from the past because you have been chatting a lot during the day or whatever, then all you have to do is wait. But remember, when you wait, don't try the waiting. Wait in the real sense of waiting. And this is why I was talking about before. I was mentioning the idea that when you if you come home from work, yeah, I've been very tired because of what you have been doing for a whole day. And all because you are so tired, all you want to do is just sit back in a sofa or a nice armchair or whatever. You don't want to do anything because you feel so tired. Then what is it that you do tired? You don't do anything, right? Because when you are resting, when you feel really tired, you don't want to do anything. You just want the mind, allow the mind to run, allow the thoughts to run on their own. And you're not trying to be peaceful. You're not trying to be kind. You're not trying to do anything here. And meditation should be a bit like that, not trying to do anything here. But it's actually, we always try too much. We try to make the meditation work. That's why I use this idea of sitting in an armchair after a long day, because then you know it means not to try anything. And then if it is just the momentum from the past that you are carrying with you, that momentum will gradually calm down. If you just really relax and let go, the momentum will calm down, yeah? And eventually you start to become a bit more peaceful. But sometimes that is not the problem. Sometimes the problem is because you actually want the mind to be chatty, yeah? You are desiring the happiness of chatting, whatever that might be. And then it comes back to the idea I said before about having right view. The right view is about understanding where real happiness and where peace comes from. It doesn't come from chatting. It doesn't come from these kind of things. The happiness comes actually in somewhere else. It comes from the peace and the quiet of the mind. And then the mind leans towards the happiness. It inclines towards that peace because it knows that is where you're going to find real happiness. So that is a matter of right view, of reconditioning your outlook, how you think about the world. And then by reconditioning that outlook, actually the chatting starts to calm down as a consequence. So this is a very long-term thing. Yeah, sometimes they have to do things long-term, but in the short term, all you need to do is just usually to stand back, allow things to calm down. Another thing that you can do is that if the mind is very busy anyway, you can just try to guide that chattiness a little bit, yeah? And then you can do more like things we were trying before, do a little bit of metta practice, yeah? Use the movement of the mind, use it in a positive way so as to create a wholesome state of mind rather than just allowing it to chat randomly. Have a positive chat, have a wholesome chat, yeah? May you be well, may you be happy, and then chat in a positive way instead of just chat random stuff that has no meaning at all. And then you are maybe on the right track. But it is difficult, yeah? It can take a long time to calm down the chatty mind, but all of these things are, hopefully they will give you a move you in the right direction here.
Thanks, Ajahn. Ajahn, please let me know if you need to go because it's now 4 o'clock. So I still have quite a few questions here. So if you would like to stop, just let me know. Yeah, I will ask another question then.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. How do we sustain seclusion inwardly when there are many times that we need to interact socially? When outward seclusion is impossible, I believe that following Sila and the 5 precepts help, not drinking any alcohol at all in life, and having a kind and selfless attitude towards relationships with colleagues, family, friends, and so on makes inner seclusion possible. Is my understanding right? Is it Sila and living with the 4 immeasurables that allow us to be reclusive inwardly when it is impossible to be a reclusive in a physical sense?
Yes, yeah, that is, you are absolutely on the right track. That's exactly right. And very often it is not possible to be in seclusion. Yeah? Even the Buddha had to socialize, he had to be around people. It is always the case. Life is always about a mixture of interaction and also seclusion. We need to do both things. But if you live, as I say, with sila, with kindness, then you are actually creating the causes that will allow for successful seclusion in the future. So everything, when in all of your social interactions, if you use those social interactions in a skillful way, if you are kind to those people, if you think about how you can have more metta towards them, if you think about how you can improve your speech and all of these kinds of things I was talking about before, if you bring that into the social interactions, you're actually creating the foundation for meditation to happen in the future. Yeah, so that is the right way to think about things. And then when eventually you have a chance to go on a retreat somewhere, you have a chance to relax and sit down, actually you find meditation comes back fairly quick again. It comes back quickly because the inner qualities are already there. Yeah. So don't strive too hard to be secluded in everyday life. Instead, what we should strive for in everyday life is to have enough mindfulness to be aware of what we are doing. Yeah. If you have enough mindfulness to be aware of what you're doing, yeah, so you know that whether you are doing bad or good things, and you're able to stop yourself in time, that is what we should strive for in ordinary life. That is the purpose of mindfulness in ordinary life. And then eventually you come to seclusion, maybe you come down to Jhana Grove for a retreat down here. Hopefully that will probably end soon, or whatever else it is. Then you will really enjoy that seclusion so much more.
Thanks, Ajahn. Next question. Dear Ajahn, in the sutta, it is said that wise attention is the condition for stream entry. How is this being practiced? What do we pay attention to, and in what manner should it be carried out? How is self-identity view be discarded through this practice?
Okay, so wise attention here is the Pali word is yoniso manasikara, one of those very important words on the Buddhist path. Yeah, yoniso manasikara means to attend, quite literally. Manasi is the mind, manas, and kara is the action. It's the action of the mind. We attend to things, and yoniso is like the source or the root of things. So it's like an attention that goes to the source of things, goes to the root of things. So, and this yoniso manasikara is something that, yes, it is a condition for stream entry, but actually it is a condition for everything on the Buddhist path. Every time you do something right, it is yoniso manasikara. So if you are able, to change your morality, become more kind, yeah, let's say that you are sitting with someone and you feel a bit irritated, and then you think, wait a minute, why am I getting irritated? What am I getting upset about? This is a good person, it's a good Buddhist, they are just conditioned in this way. It's crazy, it's silly for me to become irritated. And suddenly you change your mind around from being irritated to having compassion and kindness instead. That is yoniso manasikara right there. Yeah, just changing your attitude towards things. So yoniso manasikara, every time you do something like that, you change your attitude, you move towards more wholesomeness, that is what it is. That's right attention. And by doing that, we gradually reduce the hindrances. Yeah? The hindrances become less and less and less. The more yoniso manasikara you have, the less anger you have, the less greed you have in your life, the rest of all of these defilements you have, they all gradually disappear until your mind is completely pure. And this is what samadhi is like. That's when we come to the point of samadhi. Yeah. And this is how we use yoniso manasikara in the beginning. So how you use yoniso manasikara depends on where you are on the path. Before you come to samadhi, there is no point in trying to become a stream mentor because it's impossible. You cannot become a stream mentor without samadhi. That's what it actually you have that in the sutras in so many different places. Yeah, so you have to use yoniso manasikara in the beginning to purify your mind. Then you come to samadhi, and then comes what you are talking about here, which is using yoniso manasikara to become a stream mentor. How does that happen? And the way it happens is that you, once you have samadhi, the world is very simple because all you have left is a very simple idea. The state of samadhi is very simple. It has joy, Yeah, it has a very unified, everything is very unified. There is no distraction there. The mind isn't going anywhere. And pretty much all you have left is joy and that perception of joy in your mind. And if you are able then to look at that joy in the mind and understand this is impermanent, it is unreliable, it will break up. Yeah, that too will not last. That is where you can become a stream enterer, because at that point, you have already let go of everything else in the world. All you have left to let go of is the joy in samadhi. If you can see that as impermanent, that is the yoniso manasikara that will allow you to become a stream enterer. You then let go of everything. Everything is gone. And then you can have this kind of insight. So yoniso manasikara, this right attention, is something that you bring with you, yeah, from the very beginning, at the very early stage. Take it with you all the way to the very end of the path. And it's always about seeing things more clearly, having this clarity about things. But, you know, it may sound complicated perhaps, yeah, what you have to do, but it's not really complicated at all, because, you know, you have already probably have that right view, have the idea of the three characteristics of existence. Actually, when you come out of samadhi, you will know what to do already, because the conditioning is already there. And you will look at that state and you will start to understand that state also as impermanent and as problematic, and then it will happen by itself.
Thanks, Ajahn. Next question. Dear Ajahn, during our daily activities, if we practice mindfulness, that is satipatthana, do we need to observe the four focus or just focus on the most prominent one, for example, the body? Thank you very much.
Okay, so the answer to that is that we always said that the most important thing during daily activities is actually to focus on your mind. You can say that chitta nupassana is the most important thing, to see what your mind is doing. You don't even have to call it satipatthana. I wouldn't call these things satipatthana. I would call these things sense restraint. I would call these things keeping a wholesome mind, yeah, knowing what's happening in your mind. It is really part of what is in the sutras is called the indriya sangvara, yeah, the restraining your mind from going into negative directions. So really, in daily life, enough mindfulness to know what you're doing here. Yeah, I don't know how much use it is to focus on your body. I think it's much more use to focus on how you live, that you live in a good way, that you are a moral and good person. That is what really matters, because that is what is going to support your meditation in the long run. So know what you're doing, yeah? Ask yourself if you can do better. How can you overcome any negativity, any problems in your life? How can you look at the difficult colleague in a different way? How can you look at the difficult family member in a new way? Yeah, and how can you overcome those problems and then have more compassion and kindness instead? So yes, mindfulness is important, and we should really have, ideally, we should have mindfulness at all times, but use that mindfulness to regulate your body, your speech, your actions, so you can actually become more kind. And then, if you're able to do that, then when you come back and you sit down and you do some meditation practice, that is when meditation becomes powerful. So just the idea of just focusing on the body, it is too... it's nice to be mindful, of course, in that way, but the mindfulness has to have a particular direction. It has to have a particular purpose. Just being mindful without having instruction, yeah, doesn't always work. You know the story Ajahn often tells, yeah, the story about this, I think was in Singapore. There was a very wealthy person, and then they had this really big house, this big mansion or something, and they had a guard on the outside, yeah, and the idea was then that, you know, what are you going to tell that guard if you go out and then someone comes who want to burgle your house and steal all of your beautiful possessions? What are you going to tell your guard? Are you going to tell the guard to kind of get the burglars away, be mindful and then get the burglars away? Or are you going to tell them just to be mindful? if you tell the guard to just be mindful, then that's what's going to happen is that the burglar comes, and then the guard watches the burglar. Oh yeah, burglar coming, and the burglar opens the lock, and the guard says, oh yeah, burglar opening the lock, burglar opening the lock. And then the burglar goes into the house, takes all the paintings off the walls. Oh, burglar stealing, burglar stealing. And noting what the burglar is doing. Yeah, mindful, really mindful. And then the owner comes back and says to the guard, well, what happened? The house is empty. What happened to all my belongings? Oh, I did exactly what you did, ma'am. I was mindful of everything all the time. So this shows you the limit of mindfulness. Yeah, mindfulness is you allow all the wrong things to happen because you're just mindful. And this is like being mindful of the body without any instructions beyond the mindfulness of the body. If you are just mindful of the body like that, the burglar into your mind, and it gives rise to all kind of anger and all kind of desires. And he burgles, he steals your peace. He steals all the good qualities inside of you. Yeah, and this is the problem. So you have to have more than just the mindfulness of the body. You have to have the instruction and the idea that when negative mental states or negative happen in your life, then you actually move in a different direction. You use your wisdom, you use your intelligence, and to think, how can I think about this in a different way? How can I turn a difficult situation into kindness? And this is the idea of using wisdom rather than willpower. So don't just be mindful. Use the mindfulness for a good purpose. And then I think this, to me, this is the best way of living in ordinary life rather than just focusing on the body or whatever. Yeah. Okay, Freddie.
Okay, thanks, Ajahn. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So before we end, I would like to request Ajahn for a blessing on behalf of everyone. And also, I would like to add someone as well. While I was having lunch today, while I was walking to the restaurant, I saw a person lying on the ground on the street. I'm not sure if he's dead or if he's alive now, but a lot of paramedics and people are helping him, but I'm not sure how is he now. So if Ajahn permits, I would like to ask Ajahn to share some mirrors and send some blessing to him as well.
Yeah. Okay. Good. No, that's right. That's a nice thing to do, to kind of bring in what happens in daily life. That's nice. Let's do that. Let's first of all, I'll just do a quick blessing, and we can do the sharing of merit afterwards. Yeah.
Thanks, Ajahn.
So let's do that. Yeah. Okay. Nati me saranang anyang buddho me saranang varang ete nasa chavaje nasotite hotu sambada nati me saranang anyang dhammo me saranang varang ete nasa chavaje nasotite hotu samba me saranang sangho me saranang varang ete nasa chavaje nasotite hotu sambada. So that's wishing you all well and well-being and all good things. And now let's do the sharing of merit together. Hedang men yatinang hotu sukita hontu nyato. Hedang men yatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Edang men yatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo.
Sadhu, sadhu,
okay,
sadhu.
Yeah. Very good.
Thanks, Ajahn.
Good. Okay.
Thank you,
Take
Ajahn,
care, everyone.
For the brilliant talks, for the guided meditation, for the answers to the question and the blessing. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Just want to let everyone know that the video recording is now available on Facebook already, and it will be uploaded to YouTube in the coming week. and we are going to send everyone's email for the link to YouTube. So that is all for today. I hope you have a good day,
Great.
and thank you everyone again, and see you at our next event, hopefully.
Great. Bye bye everyone. Yeah. See you again soon. Yeah.
See you.
Thanks. Bye.